Welcome back to another episode of the Pursuing Faith podcast with Lanna and Iggy. And today we're going to be doing things just a little bit differently. This is an idea that Jonathan, the producer, had, and I really loved it because it's just you guys are gonna see more of us, and that's what I like.
And today's a year since we've been baptized.
Yeah, 364 days.
Well, yeah, today when this episode is airing, it's going to be a year, literally a year since we've been baptized.
Well, we got baptized yesterday.
December 24th.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So, very special day. So we're going to be reacting a little bit to the Billy Carson and Wes Huff debate. And when Jonathan told me that he wanted to do this, I loved it because this is kind of this is kind of my what I enjoy doing. You know?
actually brought it up when I had prepped for the podcast, and then prior to prepping, he was like, "Oh, we should do reacting to the Wes Huff and Billy Carson speculation, debate." And I'm like, I mean, that sounds more you, babe. For me, I don't know, but.
And the reason I wanted to react to, I was talking to Jonathan about this, is because, again, we're not going to react in a very deep and theologian way. We leave that to Wes.
Yeah, I'm not a historian, a
linguist. But we want to react because we actually, prior to coming to Christ, we actually were on the New Age.
For a few years, actually.
You know? And
we were in it deep.
Yeah.
Out hundreds of hours of learning that stuff in retreat.
And I don't think that a lot of people realize that. I don't think that a lot of people may hear us saying that and they're like, oh, they were just, part of the movement. But we actually, like you said, hundreds of hours in weekends spent learning about, God. We are God. The universe, Mother Nature, energy, and all these different things. And Billy Carson, actually, he's probably the most popular and well-known internet celebrity.
I never even knew who he was before this.
That's interesting.
I feel like there's other New Agers that are, no?
He's the biggest one. Revenue-wise, following-wise, he has millions.
How many followers does he have,
on YouTube?
Oh, he's mainly on YouTube?
Yeah, he sells courses. Yeah. He sells he talks about 0-point energy devices. He's very spiritual with that stuff. And he actually made claims on one of the biggest podcasts before that Christ was not crucified, that Christ was an alien. And the funny part about the debate is that you would see him in these big name podcasts like Joe Rogan, PBD podcast, Patrick McDavid. He's a Christian, but he was talking in a way and about certain things and I felt.
I didn't know he was on PBD podcast.
Yeah, he was. He talks in a way, and let me know if you can relate to this. I'm sorry, Jonathan, that I'm making this longer, but this is what I felt when I saw him on PBD and when I saw him here finally. He talks in a way that for people like us, that we, are not extremely immersed in the language that he's using, he says certain things that can make you doubt. When he starts talking about the Sinai Bible, when I first heard that term on the PVD podcast, and when he said that, I was like, what is that? And I've been reading my Bible. Again, I'm not that I don't know about I'm reading my Bible. He's talking about the Sinai Bible, and I'm like, what is that? So it can produce some doubt in your head. Let me know if that doesn't remind you to when we were in these classes, that we were being taught and talk in a way that kind of they would own the knowledge of what they were saying. So it was very hard for us to even debate those things. And finally here, what I love about this is that he was confronted by somebody that he's my new hero, because Wes Huff is somebody that I got to know Wes Huff when his channel was 13,000 subscribers. And I would watch to his videos. The video that caught my attention was a trailer, a short clip that he did for his new show. Is called Can I Trust the Bible? And I started listening to him, and I love the fact that he's a historian.
Yeah.
He backs everything up with proven historian methods
Yeah.
of like
Because
validation.
he even says like great historians, we're not really here to prove, we're not really here to tell you the facts. We're here to prove and challenge what.
We even believe that is true. That's what he said. Like, we're
Exactly.
here to tell you the facts. We're not here to push an agenda. So he said, like, because another interview, not this one, they even asked him, like, oh, like, when you started this journey, were you scared of finding out that Christianity was not true? And he's like, look, there's always a possibility. There was always that possibility. And I started it exactly because I was like, okay, how can I prove that this thing that I'm reading is real? That's how his journey started. So, again, very smart, very intelligent, very knowledgeable. Like, he speaks I don't know how many languages. He actually can read the Bible in Aramaic, Greek, Hebrew. Like,
Wild. Honestly, I'm
and
like,
he's young. I don't know how old he is,
he's
but
probably
he's
like
young.
30 something.
I don't know, but like he's from Canada. He has his own ministry called Apologetics Canada. He's an apologetics, so he defends the faith.
That's the semester that we're gonna take
Yeah.
in January.
So, like I was very, at the beginning when I saw this, I was kind of like scared to see how the debate was going to go. But then after seeing the debate, I was actually very happy that
Yeah.
God orchestrated this. Because as I said, like, I knew Wes for a couple months already. I mean, I didn't knew him personally. I knew of him for a couple months now. I think I actually share with you a video. I share a video with you about this guy going to Egypt and like,
Oh yeah.
and I was like, look, dude, this guy seems like he's knowing what he's talking about. And
I think we should watch today. Like, I don't really like to watch TV, but like I like to watch like real life stuff that's gonna.
we can watch it. It's interesting. So whatever, like, I watched that and then see him with no followers and asking myself this question of like, why is God not giving him a spotlight? He knows so much. Why is God not giving him a spotlight? And then all of a sudden, it makes sense, and that's how God works. And honestly, I would not have chosen anybody rather than him to have this type of debate because of the way he conducted himself. So
Sure. And in my videos, and if you listen to the podcast, the statement is according to the Sinai Bible. Okay. According to the Sinai Bible, Jesus wasn't crucified in that Bible. And that Bible predates the King James Version of the Bible. And the text there actually is about 12 to 14,000 differences between the Sinai Bible and the King James Version of the Bible, which came much later. And then also one of the things that were interesting is that they discovered the book of Jesus' wife, which is at the Harvard Seminary, which, according to some scholars, is a little controversial, but they claim that this is an accurate record that Jesus may have even been married, which then, adds more, if that's true, it adds more to the hypothesis that maybe he wasn't crucified.
no, I never heard that Jesus was not crucified. But
First of all, I barely ever talked about. We barely ever talked about Jesus.
no, but I heard that, not about the crucifixion, but I heard that he was married or that he was just a regular guy. That his teachings were like amazing, but kind of like I heard this actually on the place that we used to go. I don't know how to call it. I heard that he was similar to what the Dalai Lama is for the Hindus, like kind of like he's a personality like that, I also heard that they didn't refer to him as God, so.
I mean, everything was, God is a universe. We are gods. Mother Nature is I guess it's like kind of like its own being in a sense. That you can talk to, I don't know, the universe, and it'll hear you and it'll tell you what you want if you really just put your mind to it. So everything in New Age was like about you and about you controlling everything. And when I came to when I gave my life to Christ, I had to really unlearn everything, and it gave me a big sense of relief that I don't have to have all the questions, all the answers.
Yes.
My identity is in Christ, because New Age is all about finding who you are, getting to the root of everything,
And making what makes you feel right.
doing what makes you feel right, discovering why you are the way that you are because of how you grew up. And literally, when I gave my life to Christ, I realized, oh, like my identity is in Christ, and Christ is the one that created.
Yeah, and we are the way we are because of sin. You know, that which is something that it was not spoken about.
Yeah, and something about the New Age was like, oh, you are born righteous. You are born
Yeah, you're born good.
sinless. Like
Sin was not
kids.
sin was not even a word.
Yeah, I know. Like, okay,
Like they would say that, as a man, I'm going to say this. Like they would say that masturbation was like okay, you know, like it's something that men do and women do, and it's okay if you need to do it, do it. Like you don't need to condemn yourself, or it's not a sin. Like we actually had people that would share, and they would be like, from the teachers to them, it would be like, well, you know, it's just a coping mechanism. You know, it's nothing bad. You know, so there was no this thing of what is sin. It didn't exist on the New Age.
yeah, we were born perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, first let me say I think it's really cool to not just be in the room proverbially with you, Billy, but be able to interact with you. Because I wish I could be there in person. Unfortunately, Toronto, Canada, is a long way away from Florida. It's a little bit of a jaunt. But I really appreciate the fact that you seem to have investigated to a certain degree some of these facts. Do you mind if I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
When you say the Sinai Bible, what are you referring to specifically?
It's the biblical text that was written. It made it into you can actually look it up on Amazon. It's a Bible called, I have a version at home. It's called the Sinai Bible, right, from Mount Sinai. I'm assuming that's the mountain that they're referencing there. But they put together their own version of the biblical text prior to the King James Version being put out.
Sure. So when you refer to the Sinai Bible, would you be referring to Codex Sinaiticus? Like the codex that comes... Okay. That's why I was trying to get some clarification, because so you can actually go and see Codex Sinaiticus is at the British Library. So you can go and see it. It's on display. And the British Library has actually digitized the entire manuscript. So I work with manuscripts in my linguistic work. I'm an expert on early Christian scribal culture, and particularly in Greek and Coptic manuscripts. I actually have a facsimile. So I have a photocopy that was done by the British Library of Codex Sinaiticus that I work with in my office. So I have it here. And the only reason I asked for clarification is because I want to make sure that what I'm addressing is actually what you mean.
Gotcha.
And not addressing something else. Because the Codex Sinaiticus in particular is just it's a 4th century Greek manuscript. Mm-hmm. It comes from approximately between 325 and 350 AD. And its text of the Gospels reads almost identical to the modern Greek text that we develop translations from. So my curiosity is just simply in kind of exploring, when you say that it denies the crucifixion, or that the crucifixion isn't there. I mean, I can go on right now, Codex Sinaiticus, and I can look up the end of, say, Matthew 27, mm-hmm. where it has Jesus being crucified. And that's in Codex Sinaiticus, or, the John 19, or any of the other ones. So I think my confusion is that it doesn't read any differently.
I love it.
Well, I know I'm really trying to keep up with him because I'm trying to learn like the facts myself. But it's really refreshing to hear that he has all like proven manuscripts. And I honestly want to go to his library in his home and really read and study. And I love how everything is that he says is dated.
Yeah, I actually,
And I love how he asked for clarification.
yeah, like he answers, and you and I spoke about this. Like, I love that it was him because like he answered in a very Christ-like thing. And one of the things that this whole interview or debate taught me is the fact that as Christians, we are called to defend the truth. But when we get agitated by doing so, we are relying on our self-righteousness. And what I mean with that is like, it's not our truth that we're defending, it's the truth of our Creator. So if we know that what we're saying is truth, why we get agitated? And that's something that I learned from this debate, the fact that he's not interrupting, Billy Carson when Billy Carson is saying things that he knows from the top of his head that, hey, like this dude clearly has no idea what he's talking about. Like he's not interrupting him. He's not cutting him off. He's letting him formalize his ideas, and then he's responding in love and truth. What he actually knows is truth, and he lets the rest be played out by the whole conversation, So that's huge learning lesson from Wes. And then the other part is what I said before, is like, I'm tired of having people like Billy Carson that sit down and just talk about things that sound too complicated for most people to actually argue against, like until this debate, I didn't know what the Sinai Bible was. I didn't know what it was, That's on me. I should have done more research when I heard it the first time, whatever, but I didn't know what it was. So if Billy Carson would come to me and tell me that, I would be like, okay, you might be right, which is what happened in his whole career. That's how he built his career. And the other part that hits home closer to me is that I've been in environments that it was like that. And when I would have questions, and you know this because we would argue about this, when I would have questions that did not fit the mold that they were answering from, it would be for an argument. So like, it's that perspective that it's like, and that's why, again, I have to call this again out of Wes. He's not fighting in the same level, he's fighting in like, hey, this is the truth. And I'm at peace with, I know that the truth is. So his tone of voice never changes. But the tone of voice of Billy Carson, you will see it changes and he gets agitated. And we know how this ended up going,
So he wasn't talking about the Sinai Bible?
No, he was talking about the Sinai Bible, but when he got called out, he changed it on the go.
Okay, yeah, well, so that's good. So let's deal with that too, because I've actually worked with, there are two manuscripts of the Gospel of Barnabas. The Gospel of Barnabas is a really interesting document because it is a known forgery. And so that's why I think it's important to get to these sources. So at the very start of the Gospel of Barnabas, which we only have two copies of, one is in Italian and one is in Spanish, we see right off the bat that the Gospel of Barnabas, not to be confused with either the Epistle of Barnabas or the Acts of Barnabas, which are two apocryphal documents from the 2nd century, but the Gospel of Barnabas in particular, we know it's a forgery because it does things like in chapter 92, it says that Jesus spent 40 days on Mount Sinai, and then he came to the Jordan River and he walked to Jerusalem. But Mount Sinai is more than a week's journey away from Jerusalem, and neither Mount Sinai nor Jerusalem are close to the Jordan River. So never mind there not being a route from the Jordan River to like around Mount Sinai or going to Jerusalem. But there are internal problems with the Gospel of Barnabas, which indicate that it shows no actual indication of evidence of coming from or even having knowledge of first century Jewish understanding. It actually says Jesus is the Christ, but not the Messiah, which indicates that whoever the author is, he didn't know that those were the same words. And I think a bigger problem is that the Gospel of Barnabas actually paraphrases Dante's Inferno, which was written in 1314.
I love how he was like in chapter 92, and then you see Billy kind of get a little uncomfortable. He's like, I need to take a sip of water.
I need to get out of here right now. I need to create something to leave.
It's like, I don't know. But like, it's like before making statements, like, shouldn't you read and like check the facts within the book?
Yeah, the problem goes again, and this is the part that we are trying to share. Part of our journey is that what Billy Carson is trying to back up, it's all based on self. It's all based on his own understanding and his own feelings and emotions and righteousness. Like, there's nothing that backs up New Age. There's nothing that can back it up. There's no historic record that it can back it up. When we have Christianity that it has been backed up over and over and over again, and you have people like Wes that he actually like done a lot of research despite of his faith, because he's a Christian, but despite of being a Christian, his research started because he wanted to know if what he was believing was true.
Yeah.
And he went into that journey. Like, one of the things that he said on an interview, because he grew up, his mom was a missionary and his dad was a preacher. And he said that in his house, they had the Book of Mormon, they had the Quran, they have like the Hindu version of the Bible. I don't know the name. And the reason they had those books, which is something that I actually learned from him, because part of my journey so far, I'm like, I cannot read these books. You know, like, these books are from the enemy. I should not read them. But one of the things that his parents actually taught him from young is the fact that, look, we believe in our truth, and our truth can stand any trial. So go ahead and read it. There's nothing for you to fear, because this is your truth. This is the truth. So you can go ahead and read the Book of Mormon. You can go ahead and read the Quran. We know at the end of the day that this is the truth. And that's how he approaches everything. And that's why he was such a great debater for Billy Carson, because he actually can back it up, you know?
You know, Wes had to be very bold in doing this. He was trying to reach out to Billy for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we're all bold in that, in a very different way. And I know that Lanna has a platform, a really big platform. And I think it's important to be bold wherever we're at in our lives. So could you talk a little bit about, you know, was it easy for you once you came to Christ to share your faith in public when you started your walk? Was that something that came easy for you, or?
Not really. Like, in the beginning of giving my life to Christ, I was hesitant about seeming too religious, and I was being very lukewarm. And I'm like, you know what? And then I got really convicted. I'm like, you know what? At the end of the day, I don't care if people think I'm too religious. I'm gonna make my page about Christ, and I'm gonna share my journey. And even with the podcast, like, I wanted it to be prior, like, a little bit of business, mom, like, and I didn't really want to make it about Christianity because we were new believers. But I'm like, you know what? It's about sharing our journey. Like, we're not here to teach. We're not preachers. We're not biblical scholars. We're just here to share our journey and our faith. And I feel like a few months after I gave my life to Christ, I decided to just go all in and not care about what anybody thought. And even if it meant losing business, because maybe somebody might get offended that, okay, I have a lash business, but I'm Christian and you may not be Christian. Like, those were the thoughts that were going through my head. But at the end of the day, like, then I'm just being lukewarm if I'm not spreading my faith and using my platform.
Iggy, you talked a little bit about it's important to do your own research when you hear these things. What is, how are some ways that people can protect themselves from somebody like Billy Carson?
Well, at the beginning, I would say like it depends where your heart is, because clearly I was not protected. Like when I was part of the new age, I was not protected. And in fact, I still have a lot of anger towards the new age movement, and I have a deeply desire for people to wake up, and like that desire sometimes can play me a bad play, because I might come out as self-righteous or as an angry Christian, and that's why I love this debate so much, because like truly the way Wes responded convicted me to the way like, hey, there's a way to achieve exactly what you want to do, so that's something that I took to learn. But look, at the end of the day, when I started my journey, the first thing that I did, and I keep saying all the time, was go to the word, read the word. And then God put this desire in my heart to study as much as I can, and my go-to resource at the beginning was YouTube. There's a lot of great Christian scholars, on YouTube today that they poured a lot of content out that, they convicted us both and they accelerated our journey, but now I would tell you, like, if you're somebody that it's listening and you are like kind of like in the middle, and you don't know what to believe, I would tell you the first thing, read the word. The second thing, be in community, because community, when you see other Christians, how they behave, don't go based on your perception of your experiences per se, like I was away from God because I grew up Catholic, and I would look at the priests in this church that abused these children, the Pope, this and that. So in my head, I was like, why am I going to read the Bible if look what these people are doing, But then that was eliminated and I was able to take action with my own hands. So that would be the two things, is like read the word, and then don't be in community, but then don't make your opinion about God based on other people's journey, because the Bible says, and if you read the word, you will find out that we are all sinners. So because we're all sinners, I can be doing stuff not because I don't love God, but because I'm imprisoned by my own sin. So there's things in my life that I don't like, and you might see me on a good day, on a bad day, and I might be doing something, and you will be like, oh, look, that's the guy that talks about Christ, this and that. Well, guess what? I'm a sinner, so I can go through those things. So don't let other people's experiences push you away from God.
Was there ever a time while you were in your walk of new age, that you had your doubts? And if so, what advice would you give to somebody who is in their walk of new age, but also has doubts?
I never really had any doubts in New Age. I guess you could call me like a really good student, an obedient student, because I believed whatever I was told, and then I went all in. And I never really challenged anything as my husband would, and I admire that from him, because I just believed everything, and it just sounded so appealing. Like, okay, I could create my own reality. Let me journal every single day. Let me write down how much money I want to make today, and I'm gonna do that. And everything was just self. And while it felt good, I was actually miserable inside, because although I was so dependent on work and feeling good because I was able to obtain that, my soul was slowly dying, because everything was material and external, but yet my relationship with the second most important person was dying. And I was miserable inside because I literally had voices in my head like, he's doing something bad, he's gonna hurt you. So I just kind of turned to my own understanding, and I turned to the material stuff because I thought that because I thought that that was gonna make me happy. But in reality, it was just making me rot more inside. So I never really doubted my new age because I never really had any prior beliefs to that. I know that a God existed, but I didn't know it was Christ. I didn't grow up in church. I felt like church was more of like a feel good kind of thing where you just go, you listen to the word, and then you just go about your own life, living life on your own terms. And that's what I thought that I liked to do because I liked having a sense of control and not asking things for people. But that's something that I really struggled with when I gave my life to Christ, was depending on Christ, because everything that I had learned was self-dependent, you. So that's about it.
I'll just say that to add to what you were just saying, it's very hard to find something that it's not appealing to you in new age because it's all about you. Does that make sense? So it's like, oh, you want to feel right. Okay, just think about feeling right. Oh, you want to make more money. Okay, so just meditate on making more money. Do you want to find the perfect spouse? Okay, then just meditate about finding the perfect spouse. They would even told us, oh, write 10 things that you like about the person here and this and that, and then just put it into the universe. And it's like, to me, it was like constantly questioning everything because I never heard hard work. I never heard dedication. I actually would hear things against hard work. I would hear things against dedication. Oh, you cannot be working those many hours. You need to take care of yourself. You need to rest. You need to do this. You need to do that. I never heard anything around family. I never heard anything about like, hey, I don't know. I'm a guy. I never heard anything about the man having to sacrifice for the family. I never heard anything about taking care of your body. Like it was all about like just doing what it feels good to you, and
you can heal yourself.
Yeah, and you can heal yourself. And then we would have arguments and debates in there that they wouldn't feel good to me. And what she said something is like, I felt, without even us talking about it, but I felt that our relationship was dying. I felt that if we would have arguments about like, I would tell her like, hey, it seems that you are more on their side than on my side. Like you never take a stand for me, and I'm your husband. Like, and I'm making a claim or something that I am right.
I didn't know what a husband was.
I'm right with what I'm saying. Like they cannot answer the point that I'm putting out. Like they cannot answer the point without shutting me down. So the way they would answer the point was like,
they kind of blamed you, like, oh, well, you're just a difficult person. Like that's an area that we need to work on, Ignacio, because you went through something, and I'm sorry, but like we have to do some shadow work on that because it's one of your
weaknesses.
No, it's one of your
traumas,
personalities.
Okay, so
it's a shadow, like name your shadows, right? So it's like, I don't know.
So like, see, you would go through stuff like that, and then your wife is not having your back. So and look, I do believe that God used our marriage to bring us to Him, because the first sermon that we heard at our church was about what a healthy marriage should look like.
You know what's crazy? Like I know that you're like angry at the New Age movement, but I'm very, in a way, grateful for it, because I feel like that just brought me closer to Christ.
Amen. Yeah, I'm not angry. As I said, no, Wes convicted me. I'm not angry. My anger, it comes from my self-righteousness, and it's something that I need to pray about and get rid of. It's not anger. It's I want people to stop being deceived. I want people to actually open their eyes and come to Christ. You know? So if you guys are listening to this, pray for my anger. That would be great.
It was great talking to you.
Likewise, I like this.
Let me know in the comments down below if you guys like this kind of style of podcast. And I know that Ignacio loves to do it. I'm excited because I'm going to listen to more Wes Huff right now after we end the podcast. I'm going to go on Lash and listen to him. And I just want to learn. That's what I want to do.
Yeah. Like he's 33. I just checked it out. For 33 years old, like
Talking the mic.
for 33 years old, the amount of knowledge that he
I know.
has is insane.
Yeah.
Insane. So glory to God for him, because he's a voice and it's needed. So
Don't forget to like and subscribe. And we'll see you guys on the next episode.
bye-bye.